So the first one was, what do you think the three most important qualities are in a teacher? And for me, they are patience, empathy, and good communication. So I'll go through those. With patience, I think it's so easy to get frustrated when a student isn't grasping a concept. But I think it's so important to remember that it's not their fault, that they aren't sort of deliberately misunderstanding you, and that it's your job to try and find a way to help them to grasp whatever it is you're trying to tell them. I think the worst thing you can do is to lose patience with them, because then they think it's their fault, and that taps into normally the reasons why they lack confidence in the subject in the first place. So that's the first one, patience. The second one is empathy. I think a great resource as a teacher is to be able to put yourself back in a place where and when you really struggled to get something, to learn something, to get the knack of something. For me, it was doing higher maths at the IB when I was 16 to 18. It's the sort of international baccalaureate equivalent of further maths. I wasn't bad at maths, but I wasn't particularly mathsy. And I struggled a lot, but I had this brilliant teacher who was so patient and constantly found different ways of walking me through the material. So whenever I have a student who, maybe just can't quite get something that to me seems easy, I sort of remind myself of higher maths and how hard I found things that my teacher could obviously do like clockwork. The third thing is good communication. I think, particularly when it's a tutor-student relationship and it's not like school where, obviously they have to turn up and everything's laid out on a plate before them. I think making sure that you're crystal clear with what you expect from your student, what they should expect from you, what the targets are, what material you're covering with them. All of these, I think, are central to making sure they get the most out of the sessions, and they can go away from the sessions feeling, I've covered this and this, I know I'm doing this in school with my teacher, and I'm going to do this on my own. So together I'm really confident going into my exam revision period or whatever it is. So I think that's question one. Question two was, what are your best experiences and biggest challenges in teaching? So my best experience was probably, I had a student who was doing his IB and he wanted to get into a London university, and he was great at humanities, but he really struggled with science. And the science that I did at IB and that he was doing was called environmental systems. So I've often tutored that. It's sort of ecology essentially, and he was predicted a 4 out of 7 in the science. In ESS, in environmental systems, and we worked together for about 30 hours over a sort of 4 to 6 week period, just really going through it methodically, really sort of feeding him questions, challenging him, and in the end he got a high 6, narrowly missing out on a 7, and so he got into his number 1 university of choice, which was just great, because that was the thing holding him back. And we still keep in touch, and it was we obviously got to know each other over that period as well. Biggest challenge, I think, was definitely I worked for a company that delivered IB revision courses called Lanterna, and in the Easter of my first year at university I worked for their Easter revision courses, teaching higher maths. Now I'd taken a gap year, so I hadn't done maths for nearly 2 years because I did history at university, and I was sort of thrown into the deep end, if you will, teaching a group of 15 students a revision course in higher maths with their exams literally round the corner. So I had to sort of mug up on the content and the concepts and deliver a whole course in about 16 hours when I didn't have any formal qualifications in teaching or anything. It also didn't help that with this group there were huge gaps in their ability. So after a few difficult hours to begin with, I ended up grouping the students into 4 groups of mixed ability, and then we worked out quite a good system where I would teach the concept for about 5 or 10 minutes and then set them tasks in their groups. And it was great because the brighter students ended up sort of teaching the less bright ones, while I would move around helping and correcting and trying to stretch the brighter students, and giving one-on-one time to the less able ones. So that was good, but yeah, really sort of got thrown into the deep end. And then finally, why did I get into teaching, and what else do I do for work? Well, I love the feeling of a student, as I sort of mentioned, really getting a concept or a subject that they didn't understand before, and transforming their confidence and their enjoyment of a subject as well. And it's great when you go away from an extended period of contact with a student and they say, oh, do you know what, I really enjoy history now, or something like that. For me as well, it really works, tutoring as a career, because I'm a semi-professional comedian. I do stand-up and sketch comedy, and so tutoring is ideal because it can be very flexible around my hours of work. I also have another job. I'm a bicycle tour guide of central London, focuses on the sort of history of London. So funny enough, there's actually quite a lot of crossover in my jobs. They all require good communication, good time management, and a sense of humour as well.